Compound Mindset is sponsored by Synergy Stays. We're a revenue management optimization company for short-term rentals. If you own a short-term rental, you love the hospitality side, you're crushing it when it comes to guests, but you don't want to have to focus on the revenue side of things, or you just know that in order to stay on top of all the tips, tricks, and trends, it's just a lot of work and it's a full-time job, well, hit us up. You sound like the perfect person that can work with us, and we'd love to partner with you.
What's up, everyone? Dan Rivers here. Welcome to the Compound Mindset Podcast, Episode 1. From Asshole to Entrepreneurship. Yeah, I came up with that title. I thought it sounded kind of cool because it's real. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about what the Compound Mindset is. The Compound Mindset is basically here to just open up about entrepreneurship, life, family life, real estate, being a dad, being a husband, loving to travel, my health, physical health, mental health, just the honest grind of everything, and just being open and honest so that you guys can hopefully learn some key lessons from my mistakes, a few wins here and there, sprinkled in with a lot of learning lessons. I just thought it was important to come on here and just be real with you, show you who I am, what I'm about, what I've learned along my journey, and then as I continue to learn, bring you along for that ride. So a little bit about who I am and my background. I am from a city called Brockton in Massachusetts. Anybody ever hear of Rocky Marciano? Yes, we're the home of Rocky Marciano. It's pretty cool. Marvelous Marvin Hagler as well, a couple boxer favorites. And I also like to say Al Davis. He was the owner of the Raiders for a while, but he only lived there for like the first 2 years of his life, but was still known for it, okay? But anyway, from up in Boston area, just south of there, and I grew up middle-class household, and my dad worked really hard at a printer factory that actually made cards for like CVS and Walgreens. My mom did taxes, and she also took care of at least two of us were crazy kids. The other one, not as bad, but probably put my mom through a lot when I was younger, put her through the ringer for quite a while. But just want to get into who I was before where I'm at today, because my mindset has shifted drastically over the last probably 7 years. Since 2018, I moved down to Charleston. I'll get into that at a later time, but for now, let's go back to just a history of who I was. So I grew up in Brockton, as I mentioned, and I want to say until senior year of high school, probably weighed 100 pounds, 120 pounds, soaking wet. So I was small. I would play a lot of like wiffle ball, football with my friends. We'd play tackle with no gear, no helmets, just in the field. Funny story, a little sidetrack there, but I remember one time we were playing, not funny, but I guess kind of funny now, but we were playing football and this one kid got tackled and he was complaining that he hurt his shoulder and he just sat in the sidelines for a little bit. And at the end of probably 2 hours later, we're like, all right, we took him to the hospital. Kid broke his collarbone, but we were just playing football because that's just what we did. We were like 13 years old. We played tackle football and you just got to suffer through your injuries. Just a little bit about back then. I went to public school, got into a lot of fights, was a little bit of a punk. Definitely lost majority of the fights, definitely didn't win them. I was, again, 120 pounds if I was lucky. I just had a big mouth, a lot of anger in life. Yeah, it's just kind of took me in the wrong direction sometimes. But I'll tell you, one of the things that kind of shaped me, I'll give you two kind of key moments in my life that just shaped who I was as a kid. And then as I grew up, it actually helped me become a better person. But back then, it probably made me a worse person. As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, I was kind of an asshole growing up. I just had a lot of hate and anger, and it took me many years to kind of figure out why. And I remember when I was back in, I want to say it was like 5th or 6th grade, I was going to Brockton, I was getting in trouble, as I mentioned, so my mom sent me to this school in Avon. I'm so glad she did. I actually met one of my best friends in Avon, and I wouldn't be friends with him today if I wasn't sent there. But I will tell you, those 3 years of my life, 2 or 3 years of my life, I can't remember, during those middle school times was not the best time of my life. Besides people like Biggs and a couple of his friends that I came close with, I was the outsider. I was from Brockton, I was in Avon, and I would get just picked on constantly. Get in fights there, get ice cream shoved on my head. I remember this one time, again, I was super awkward. Definitely didn't peak in grade school or high school. I still tell my wife I haven't peaked yet, but back then I just remember this one time there was like the hottest girl in school supposedly wanted me to ask her out at the locker after class. And I just remember walking up to her and saying, hey, I don't know how I had the courage to do this. I no clue how I had the courage in 6th grade to do this. But I walked up to the hottest girl and just went to her and asked her out. And it was all a joke. And literally the entire hallway started laughing at me. And it was a big joke. So that kind of summed up those first early years of my life and why probably I had some of that anger. And then it rolled into, I think it was sophomore year of high school. I was playing football, sprained my ankle. I remember I had to go to the doctor just to check on the ankle, and they heard a murmur. Like, oh, this murmur, what's going on here? They checked it out, and I can't remember how quickly it was, but shortly afterward, I was in for my first open heart surgery at the age of 16 years old. You're brave up until then, but quite honestly, it was the night before where it really hit. So anybody who's gone through any major surgeries knows what I'm talking about, but I didn't really think about it, didn't really cross my mind, hey, it's heart surgery, whatever, it is what it is. I'd rather be me than, my sisters, whatever the case is, I can handle it. But then the night before, it definitely hits you. And I just remember I was pretty messed up the night before. Definitely emotional night, not sure if you're going to wake up when you go under. And I just think that got me probably even more messed up in my head. I already had enough anger growing up. Even though I came from a loving family, mom and dad showed me a lot of love. Sisters were great to me. Anyway, yeah. So that kind of shaped me into those early years of just the hate, the anger, the fights, the doing things that I regret to this day. I feel bad for, just kind of being an asshole to the wrong people. And it's also helped me kind of guide me in the future now, though, to become a better person because of that. And I think that's one of the first key learning lessons of my life I'll spit out here is don't let the past define your future. And I'm not going to let who I was before create who I can become now or stop me from being a better person and drag me down. So it took me a while to figure that out. I mean, I was thinking literally only a couple years ago. So it took me into my face to finally forgive myself, say, yes, you did some things that are shitty. Most people probably have, if you're really going to be honest with yourself. And I've become a better, stronger version of myself now because of it. And I can actually use that as a driving factor rather than a reason to continue to live kind of that negative life or be a jerk. I can use that to strive and just be a better person and grow and know that I'm not perfect. Actually, it probably humbles me a little bit and keeps a good humility on me that I know I'm far from a perfect person, but I can get better and I can compound being a better person every day to become the person I'm meant to become. And that's a big reason for this podcast is there's so many areas of our life. I like to equate it, the reason why I call it the compound mindset, I like to equate it to, you throw money in a bank account earning, it's a rule of 72. So let's just say you're earning 12% for simple math. If you let that money compound for 6 years, it doubles. So at 12% interest rate, in 6 years, you put 100 grand in the bank, you'll have 200 grand in the bank in 6 years. So just like money can compound, so can being a good person, so can being a better dad, a better husband, so can just, being in better health. And just like it is in the bank account, I think Warren Buffett, he didn't become a billionaire until, 8 years ago when he was 103 instead of 120, whatever he is now. But he didn't become a billionaire until recent, whatever it is, most of his wealth is gained in the last 5 years of his life. So it's because of the compound effect. And it's the same thing with health. Think about it. You go to the gym and eat healthy every day, you probably won't see results for 6 to 12 months. So you got to really stay at it and believe in yourself to get there. And I truly feel that's how it is in all aspects of our life. We have to every day just work to be a little bit better, just continue to grow in every areas of our life. And it doesn't have to be necessarily every area we're growing in every day. It's just taking a second, kind of step back, figure out what you need to do better today and go after that. So that kind of rolls in a little bit about my morning routine. Kind of want to hop into that. I think that's in order to really be productive each day and to grow. I think having being organized and having a good, you could say daily routine, but for me, it's getting the morning started off right. I can see a big difference when I start my morning off a certain way versus not the right way. So perfect morning for me is waking up around 5:30, no alarm, hate alarms. Waking up about 5:30, going to the gym, getting a good workout in. I work out for about 40 minutes. I'm very, very focused. I put my phone away. I know some people call me crazy, like the music at Planet Fitness is not that good, but I don't want that phone ringing. I don't want the urge of looking at social media, checking out a text, looking at my email. I give into the urge too easily, so I know I have to take it away from me. So I go to the gym, I get focused, I get my workout in, I get home, shower, spend time with my daughter, have a coffee, just giggle, play around with her, get her ready for school, help my wife get her ready for school, take her to school, and then get into the office and get hyper-focused from around, 10 to 2, 10 to 3, sometime in that frame, and just really be hyper-productive during that time frame. And I've noticed if I don't hit the gym in the morning or if I wake up too late, For whatever reason is, and I'm not following that pattern, I'm just off. And another thing that I do in the morning, I'll prep for the day. I'll be like, all right, what's the one thing I need to do today that drives the most revenue? And equally, if not sometimes more important, what's the one thing I need to do today to clear my mind space, clear my head? Because I'm the type of person that one small thing can fill my head up with so much junk and BS that I'm not going to be productive the rest of the day. So if I could attack the one thing that I know is going to be my headspace, I want to get that off my plate as fast as possible, as well as making sure I hit that one revenue generating activity. Everything done as soon as possible in the morning, by noon, whatever the case is, so that the rest of the day, no matter what I do, it's all gravy. Whatever I achieve, it's just a bonus. On this first episode too, I wanted to talk a little bit about just kind of all aspects of my life and my journey. So I want to talk a little bit about the early hustles, the business side of things. Early on, I remember when I was in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I went to college for business management operations and minor in accounting, something like that. Anyway, I didn't really understand what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be in business. And it's so funny how looking back at my goals then versus what I have for goals now, how drastically different they were. So when I was like 18 years old, 20 years old, somewhere in that time frame, I just remember my goal was to become a vice president of a company by 30 years old and make $100,000 a year or more. Like, that was it. That's no matter what I did, I focused to reach that goal. And I did. I hustled. I ended up, going from working at a bank to working in property management, real estate down in Florida, up in Boston. And I was able to, right around 30 years old, become, I don't know if the title was exactly VP, but it was basically that role, a vice president making $100,000 a year for a business. And I thought I had made it. I was the shit. This is perfect. And then a couple years later, I just realized I was miserable. This just wasn't the life I wanted. And I thought the goals that I had when I was 18, 20 were the goals that I was going to have the rest of my life. And I couldn't be far from that. My goals now are to be super focused and driven to build an amazing team that they could reach their true potential and be happy, live their lives, while I can work high level on my businesses, making sure that they're running smoothly, making sure my team has the proper support, making sure we're growing and not fading, and then being able to spend intentional time doing that, as well as spending intentional time with my family, my wife, traveling, and just growing. And it's just amazing from back then to now how that's drastically changed. And I won't say I've made it, but a lot of people ask, like, what's your definition of success or being wealthy? And I have to be honest, like, I feel that I'm wealthier than probably the majority of people that I know. And I know some pretty damn wealthy people. And when I say that, it's nothing to do with money. I don't even compete with those people when it comes to wealth, when it comes to money. I mean, when it comes to time, when it comes to being able to spend time with family and travel and do the things that truly move the needle and make me happy, I feel like I'm probably one of the wealthiest people in this world. I know that sounds like an overstatement, but I truly mean it. Like this morning, I hit the gym, I did my morning routine, had my coffee, hung out with my daughter, and we just hung out a little bit later than normal. Usually she has to be at school around 8:15. She didn't get there till 8:30 because we were having fun and just wanted to hang out and be a family. We were enjoying each other's time. And, then I get to work and I get the pleasure of, having great meetings with the team and being able to film this podcast today. And then I'm actually filming this a little early so that I can head home because my daughter asked if I could pick her up from school. My wife was going to pick her up, but no, I'm going to go pick her up. And then we're going to go, maybe go in the backyard, go explore. We do have a pretty decent-sized backyard backed up to like 200 acres. And sometimes we'll explore back there looking for birds and animals and deer and, whatever the case, whatever we're going to do, maybe we'll go fishing at the dock. But I get to spend the afternoon with my daughter. Now, don't get me wrong, I have to be very intentional when I'm at work and make sure I get the key things done, as we mentioned. But once I do that and I know that I've achieved those things for the day, I know my team's got me covered in the other aspects and everything else that needs to be taken care of so that I can go do the things that I work so hard to achieve. So I like to say that all the time. Like I feel like that's probably one big win in my life is that I'm at a great point to do that. I can't hop on a private jet and fly to Bora Bora. That's not happening today. But I could do almost anything I want to do when I want to do it and how I want to do it. And I'm pretty close to that. So to me, that's the definition of true success and wealth. And it was not that way when I was younger. Like, as I mentioned, I cared about title and maybe money. Now I care about time and family. It's just a drastic change of, and what I built. I'm not going to lie. Like, one of my other big factors and drives is building a company that matters and means something and is truly helping people. That's why Rivers Capital Group, it's, build wealth with RCG. Like, that's a slogan because we want to help people build wealth, whether it's through buying real estate, selling real estate, buying rentals, or it's through Synergy Stays, and we're helping maximize your revenue for your short-term rental so that you can truly live that passive lifestyle that you're shooting for. Whatever it is, all aspects of our business is trying to help other people build wealth so that they can live a similar life to what I'm living. Because the more people that could do that, maybe we'd just be a little bit happier and it might be a little bit better world. Those are the early years. I did want to hop on and also talk about health and just where I'm at with that, because like most people, I fluctuate. I've been up and down. And this isn't just physical health. I'm talking mental health too. To be raw and real, about a year and a half ago, the business was struggling cash flow wise. We had some great targets. By the end of last year, we ended up hitting our goal. I think our gross income ended up being close to 1.2 million, somewhere in that range for the company, and our goal was somewhere in that range. We ended up hitting it, but like 70-something% of it was in December. So the entire year, cash was tight. And it was just, I wasn't being a great leader, so I wasn't in the right headspace. I had, just really down on myself. We talk about some struggles when I was younger. One would be, as I was going through this journey, is like imposter syndrome. So I had that for a while because of my past. As I mentioned, it took me a while to get through that. But also, am I worthy enough to, speak on stage, talk on a podcast, go on stage at an event and talk about a topic? Always questioning worth. And that's kind of what imposter syndrome does to you. But yeah, so about a year ago, this time, just started to struggle cash flow wise because I didn't know my numbers enough. I wasn't focused on the financials as much as I should. I was looking at KPIs and we were going to hit our goals for the year. It looked like we were going to. However, it was all so back end loaded that I wasn't aware of the storm that was brewing that I was missing right under my nose. And it all hit in the summer of last year. And again, we got through it. There's always a way through it. I'm never going to quit. I'm consistent. I'm persistent. I'm going to be, at it no matter what. I'm going to build a team around me that has the same mentality so that we're going to get through anything together. But it sucked. It was tough for a little bit and it really weighed on my mind. And I felt like a failure. I felt like I was letting the team down, and it was just, it was hard. So the goal now is, what's the learning lesson from that? I always try to think back, what's my learning lesson? My learning lesson is make sure I know my numbers better, make sure I really focus on cash flow, bring in people around me who are good at that, like my bookkeeper that I'm bringing in now. I'm actually adjusting right now, and someone that's going to sit there, look at upcoming bills, do a little bit more of an accrual style bookkeeping rather than just cash basis, so that I actually can see what's coming down the pipeline a little bit better. And just knowing those things a little bit more. But a lot of learning lessons, and I will tell you, like, it's a head struggle. It's entrepreneurship. My wife tells me, she goes, you're up here, you're down there. You're up here, you're down here. It's an absolute roller coaster of a ride. Try not to celebrate my wins too much. Try not to get too down in the dumps on the losses. But it's a real thing. It takes up headspace. So it's just something that I've learned. Mental health is just so important. I was seeing a psychiatrist for a little bit just to talk through things, try to just be able to speak to someone that's not my wife or family or friends. I have a lot of great confidants in business and friends, so it's awesome. But just talking to someone else also helps. Definitely highly recommend it. My wife and I did marriage counseling actually for a while too. Loved it, but the problem is it's got to be the right counselor, and we haven't been able to find a good one lately. So if anybody knows a good marriage counselor that's good with entrepreneurs and business owners, shoot me a message. We'd love to know. But yeah, I just think it's so easy to talk about physical health, which I'll talk about in a second, but mental health is just so much more important, because if you're not there mentally, I mean, it's hard to have physical health. It's hard to, build a business. It's hard to be a good dad, a good husband. It's nearly impossible. My whole goal is just to get better at each one of those each day, reading books, listening to podcasts, and just trying to, grow in all those areas and getting, talking to the right people when I'm struggling. Would say the same for you. If you're struggling mentally, make sure you're talking to people. Talk to people that are been in similar situations. Give me a call. I'm happy to chat and tell you about all the shitty days I've had, and then the good ones that come about, or make it all worth it. And then the physical health journey. I do truly believe that the better physical health you're in, the mental space does get better. I do know that. Shout out to Gunner, who helped shape me and get me in better shape and help me to eat better and work out more. I've now been consistent at that for about 2 years. I'm down from about 198 to right around 168, I think, this morning. Feeling really good. I could see 1.5 abs, which my goal is to be able to see a couple of them this year. And it definitely helps my headspace, because the other morning I woke up at 3:34 in the morning, I just wasn't doing well. I went to the gym just to try to get a workout in, and after the gym, my mental space felt better. Nothing changed at that point when it came to, I didn't solve any problems or fix the issues I was dealing with. I just was able to get a good workout in it, and it just cleared my head enough so I can go attack the day and then be successful. So it's never too late to start. Start now. Start working out. Start talking to people. Start being vulnerable. Start being open right now. Start showing humility right now. I'm telling you, all these things are ways that I've grown. It works. I had it in, I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but I think it's important to kind of hear these things. In 2021 or 2022, I try to have a word of each year, and the word of the year was humility. And I'll tell you, that's probably the biggest growth year I've ever had mentally, because I tried to, everything that I did, I took a step back, and that was a year that financially was a really good year for me. It was the boom of just after COVID, real estate was booming. But I needed to make sure I stayed humble and showed humility. So I made it the word of the year, and it helped keep me grounded and realize that, yeah, these are great times, but everything's cyclical, and it could be, struggles can be coming right around the corner. So be humble, show your humility, be a good person, and just keep your head down and hustle, and don't overspend, live below your means. And I'm telling you, it worked out, because last year, as I mentioned, when I did start struggling in 2024, I was humble, showed enough humility, and I didn't live above my means. My mortgage is, I think, $1,900 a month. I didn't go and buy a house that brought my mortgage up to $10,000 a month. Not that I judge anybody. Do whatever you want to do. But for me, when I was struggling, having that low of a mortgage kept my headspace clean. And it really helped. Those are some tips that I absolutely recommend. Like, live below your means, show some humility, understand that good times don't last and bad times don't last. So just be humble and grateful, and just keep trying to get better and better at your life each day. It's something that I try to live by. So I just wanted to kind of end this podcast, wrap it up by talking about, we're going to do deeper dives each week. I'm just going to, pick on some life lessons, some things that I've learned, whether it's business, it might be personal. I might be having some people on the podcast. I actually talked to someone the other day. This really meant a lot to me, actually. I started posting on LinkedIn, and it was a guy that I knew 12, 15 years ago in property management business. And he was a friend of mine back then, and we were close when it came to property management. We're at all the events together, helped each other grow to be better people. Forget if it was like a post that I did on social media or whatever the case was, but he saw me talk about, it was at an event that I was doing a couple years ago, speaking at. He saw me talking about, at the end of our lives, if we looked back, would we have any regrets? And almost live your life right now as if you were 90 years old, looking back at your young self, and have a second chance to live it out. And I call myself young self. I'm 44, but I'm still young. And he took that to heart, and he said, you know what? It made him put his gears in motion. He lost 85 pounds. Shout out, Pat. That's awesome. He lost 85 pounds. He has been doing a lot more date nights with his wife, and really built a stronger bond with his wife. And he started to do sports radio on the side. It's something that was his passion. He's always wanted to do it. I think he was going to have Callahan on, which is Dennis and Callahan was a big sports radio show up in Boston, at least back in the day. I don't know if they're still on the radio, but he was going to have him as a guest on his shows. Shout out to Pat, dude. I just think it was amazing that he took that and ran with it. And when he shared how much better his life was just 1 year later, I think it was 1 or 1.5 years later, whatever it was, doesn't matter, how much weight he lost, his marriage being better, and he's going after his dreams. It was phenomenal to hear that. I don't care how awkward and whatever this podcast is, if I'm reaching anybody that it's going to help them be a little bit better, go for their dreams, change their mindset a little bit, maybe change their perspective. If I could just do that for one person, it's worth it for me. And it's the same thing I look for whenever I go to like events or meet up with groups. Like, if I could just take one thing away that makes me better, I think it just helps move the needle and become a better person. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Try to give you some tips, and maybe you pick up on one thing, maybe not, and it can help you learn and grow and be a better person yourselves. That's what the podcast is going to be about. I'm excited about the next one. Episode 2 will be rolling out soon, and appreciate you listening in, and cheers. Go crush your day.